for revenge that are now dominating Khamenei's farewell. And Iran is making sure the entire world sees it. Because for 7 days, the country is holding one of the biggest funeral processions in its modern history. The coffin will travel from Tehran to the holy city of Qom, then across the border into Iraq, where it will visit the Shia holy sites of Najaf and Karbala. And that is before finally returning to Mashhad for burial. Even the symbolism is impossible to miss. Iran wants to show that despite wars, sanctions, assassinations and international pressure, the Islamic Republic is still standing. Iran's message is also reaching one of the world's most critical shipping lanes, the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran says ships transiting the waterway will have to pay what it calls new service fees for using waters it says are part of its territory. Iran's ambassador to China says countries Tehran regards as friendly will receive special consideration on those service fees. China is one of the countries specifically mentioned. In a separate development, the Iranian embassy in New Delhi has thanked the Indian government for taking part in Khamenei's state funeral. The embassy said the gesture strengthened the long-standing ties between India and Iran. So while Tehran's streets echo with chants demanding revenge against America and Israel, Iran is simultaneously sending a very different message to its friends. One message is about resistance, the other is about diplomacy. And together, they reveal how Iran wants to shape the world after Ali Khamenei's death. Russia has unleashed a massive strike on Kyiv. Ballistic and cruise missiles along with drones pounded the Ukrainian capital, triggering explosions and air raid alerts. The attack comes just a day before the NATO summit in Turkey, escalating the war as peace talks remain at a standstill. Multiple explosions were heard across the great sirens sounded. Take a look. Kyiv's mayor said Ukrainian air defense systems were activated during the assault. Falling debris from intercepted missiles and drones triggered fires and caused damage in several districts of the city. Ukrainian officials said the attack set 4 fires in residential buildings. 7 people were killed in Kyiv while another person died in the Bucha district. And at least 34 others were injured in the capital and surrounding areas.
Fighting is also ongoing for Kostiantynivka, which Putin has already claimed for himself, but it's clear he will never risk showing up there. Because in reality, what belongs to him is only Moscow, St. Petersburg, and his residences. This is the greatest cynicism of this war. A man who relies solely on his inner circle, on Moscow, and on his favorite residences is burning down everything he can reach.
The strike was the second attack on Kyiv and its surroundings in less than a week. Reports say it also followed last Thursday's deadly Russian assault that killed at least 30 people, which was also one of the deadliest attacks on the Ukrainian capital since the war began. Now ahead of the strike, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said intelligence indicated that Russia was preparing a new large-scale attack. He accused Moscow of trying to escalate the war just before the NATO summit. The missile strike also comes close to on the heels of NATO summit in Ankara, where the war in Ukraine is expected to be a major topic of discussion. President Donald Trump is expected to meet Zelensky during the summit to discuss efforts to end the war, followed by a planned conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, earlier Zelensky had urged allies to speed up the delivery of promised air defense systems after Russia launched hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles at Kyiv.
Overnight, 48 missiles and 476 drones of various types were shot down. Unfortunately, not all of them. Unfortunately, there is a shortage of anti-ballistic capabilities, a shortage of patriots, And our partners, primarily the United States and our European partners, need to be more proactive in providing assistance with this.
Meanwhile, Russia said Ukrainian strikes temporarily cut power supplies in Crimea, while Russian air defenses also intercepted drones heading towards Moscow. The latest assault underscores the widening reach of a war now in its fifth year, with both sides pushing long-range strikes into each other's territory, even as diplomats prepare to gather in Ankara. One person has been killed and several others have been injured after Pakistan Rangers allegedly opened fire on protesters in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The incident has further intensified an already growing civil rights movement that has been gaining momentum across the region. The latest violence comes just days after protesters in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir appealed to the international community to stand in solidarity with their campaign. They claim the region is facing a widening government crackdown, including large-scale arrests of activists and restrictions on public protests. The ongoing movement is being led by the Jammu Kashmir Joint Awami Action Committee, or the JAAC. The group has been organizing demonstrations demanding basic constitutional, political and economic rights. It has also been seeking the immediate release of its detained leaders and activists. JAAC core member Sardar Aman Khan released video messages appealing for public support.
Come out peacefully for your rights. Hold the white flag, demonstrate discipline, and maintain peace. We are only demanding our rights, and our protest is completely peaceful.
According to the organizers, the latest round of protests was triggered by the arrest of senior JAAC leaders. The committee has accused the Pakistani administration of trying to silence peaceful dissent through mass arrests, security restrictions, and increased surveillance. Reports suggest that more than 600 civil rights activists have been detained during the crackdown. But despite these actions, demonstrations continued across multiple towns, with thousands of people taking to the streets to express their demands.
The situation is very precarious because Pakistan has created an economic blockade and there is no food. They are not allowing any food in to POJK. Also, they have created a massive blockade for travel. So people who have to go to the hospital, or people who have to go, who had been somewhere else and want to return home, they are stranded. And they are using drones for surveillance of the Rabla court sit-in, where thousands and thousands of people have gathered for past more than 3 weeks now. And the gathering is increasing.
JAAC also alleged that police and Pakistan Rangers used force against demonstrators in Mirpur district. It claimed that security personnel used shelling as well as live fire against people gathered for the protests. But despite a heavy security presence, large crowds continued to gather across the region. The JAAC said nearly 40,000 people attended a mass rally at the Sardar Ghulam Hussain Khan Sports Stadium in Abbaspur. Protesters called for an end to Pakistan's control over the region, with some declaring that they no longer accept Islamabad's rule. The movement has evolved from demands for economic relief into a broader campaign against what participants describe as years of political suppression. The movement has also attracted support from the Kashmiri diaspora abroad. Members of the community held rallies to express solidarity with the protesters. In London, hundreds of overseas Kashmiris